In the United States, the American Airlines Flight 5342 from Wichita to Washington, D.C. crashed with a military helicopter on Wednesday night. The police forces have pulled at least 18 bodies from Potomac River. The possibility of a terrorist attack was dismissed. The Palestinian resistance movement Hamas is carrying out on Thursday the release of 3 Israeli hostages in exchange for more than 100 Palestinians held in Israeli prisons. And in Haiti, armed gangs perpetrate a new massacre in the commune of Cancavs east of Port-au-Prince, killing at least 20 people. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. Now we begin with the news. Stay with us. In the U.S., the American Airlines Flight 5342 from Wichita to Washington, D.C. crashed with a military helicopter on Wednesday night near the Reagan National Airport. The passengers plane carrying 60 passengers and 4 crew members. In the helicopter, a Black Hawk, were at least 3 U.S. soldiers at the time of the collision, according to the statements of the senior defense official. The number of casualties is not yet known, but the police forces have pulled at least 18 bodies from the Potomac River. The Maryland State Police divers are on the scene to help search in the river. The Federal Aviation Administration stated that Reagan National Airport has been closed temporarily and flights have been diverted to the Baltimore-Washington International Marshall Airport. Moreover, the U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter that collided with American Airlines Flight 5342 was on a training flight at the time of the accident, declared the spokesperson for the Joint Task Force National Capital Region, Heather Sharris. This is for an Emergency Medical Service Chief John A. Donnelly. Senior said all search and rescue efforts taking place right now are in the water, that conditions are dangerous, and that recovery efforts will likely take several days. The U.S. Department of Defense described the event as an accident and ruled out the possibility of a terrorist attack. On the crash occurred this Wednesday night, the CEO of American Airlines, Robert Isam, released video statements. Let's see what he said.
Most importantly, I'd like to express our deep sorrow about these events. This is a difficult day for all of us at American Airlines, and our efforts now are focused entirely on the needs of our passengers, crew members, partners, first responders, along with their families and loved ones. Flight 5342 was under the command of 4 crew members and carried 60 passengers for a total of 64 people on board. We are actively working with local, state, and federal authorities on emergency response efforts, and the American Airlines care team has been activated to assist our passengers and their families.
U.S. President Donald Trump criticized on Wednesday that a crash between the military helicopter and the commercial airliner was not avoided. Through the social network Truth Social, the president expressed that the plane was on a perfect routine approach line to the airport. The helicopter was heading directly towards the aircraft for a long period of time. It was a clear night. The plane's lights were on. Why wasn't the helicopter going up or down on turning? Why didn't the control tower tell the helicopter what to do instead of asking if they saw the plane? This is a bad situation that seems like it should have been avoided. It's not good. U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order on Wednesday to open a migration detention center at the Guantanamo National Naval Base. Trump announced that the new space will be used to detain up to 30,000 undocumented immigrants in the U.S. who allegedly represents a threat to society. The U.S. head of state inscribed the executive order following a White House event at which he signed his first legislation as president in Bradley law, which will facilitate the arrest and deportation of undocumented foreigners charged with misdemeanors. Cuba rejects on Wednesday the decision announced by the U.S. President Donald Trump to use the Guantanamo naval base to incarcerate tens of thousands of migrants he has proposed to forcibly expel. A communique from Cuba's Ministry of Foreign Affairs expressed that this decision is a demonstration of the brutality with which Washington is acting to supposedly correct problems created by the economic and social conditions of the country. The document also indicates that many of the people the U.S. is expelling or intends to expel are victims of that government's own plundering policies and field labor fields that have historically exceeded in agriculture, construction, industry, services, and various sectors of the U.S. economy. Furthermore, the MINREX note explains that the territory where Washington intends to lock them up does not belong to the U.S. It is a portion of Cuban territory which remains militarily occupied illegally and against the will of the Cuban nation. Finally, it points out that the responsible use of that place will generate a scenario of risk and insecurity in the illegal enclave and its surroundings. Let's take a very first break, but remember you can join us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back from the South. The Palestinian resistance movement Hamas is carrying out on Thursday the release of 3 Israeli hostages in exchange for more than 100 Palestinians held hostages in Israeli region prisons. During this Thursday morning, the Israeli military woman Agana Berger was handed over to Red Cross during a ceremony in the Jabalia refugee camp in the north of Gaza. 2 other Israeli will be released during the 2 days, who will also be accompanied by 5 Thai nationals who were not scheduled to be exchanged in the first phase of the agreement. 3 releases have so far taken place, including 7 Israeli women exchanged for 290 Palestinian citizens, many of whom were forced into exile in other nations after their release. More than 376,000 Palestinians returned to the North Gaza Strip in the last 48 hours after the entry into force of this ceasefire. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, informed that the Palestinians are returning to the city of Gaza and the Palestinian localities of Jabalia, Beit Laad, and Beit Hanun sectors that were hit by the Israeli occupation during 15 consecutive months. It also emphasized that most of the returnees are men and a quarter were women and the other quarter are children. Meanwhile, the OSHA points out that most of the displaced has set up tents next to their destroyed houses. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the Rwandan-backed M23 rebel group has seized new territory in the South Kivu province in eastern Congo. According to the local sources, the rebels seized the town of Getnisere and Mukura on Wednesday without encountering any resistance. At the same time, the M23 and Rwandan forces are continuing their offensive in the neighboring province of North Kivu, where on Monday they seized the capital, the strategic city of Goma, after several days of intense clashes with the Congolese army and its allied militias. The fighting has already displaced more than 500,000 people in the region, which is rich in natural resources such as coltan. North Korea is seeking to threaten its nuclear shells to ensure national security and sovereignty. After inspecting a nuclear material facility, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un warned of an inevitable confrontation with hostile countries by 2025 in an apparent reference to South Korea and the U.S. Kim's visit to the factory comes after Pyongyang's so far C-2 surface strategy guide cruise missiles on Saturday, its first attempt since President Trump returned to the White House. Moving on, in France, thousands of people have been evacuated in the region of Brittany, particularly in the city of Rennes and its surrounding due to severe flooding. The situation in the region remains alert due to the arrival of a new threat of low pressure on Wednesday along the French Atlantic coast. Since Tuesday night, the French authorities have already issued weather warnings from 3 provinces of the northeastern part of the country due to the alarming weather forecasts. In the scenes of the prefect of Brittany, the Armorial of Saint Quentin has warned in a statement to the press that the main concern of the authorities is the expected rainfall, which will be between 20 and 40 liters per square meter. On the other hand, Italian emergency services continue coping with floodings, landslides, and snow in the region of Tuscany and Liguria, which have been particularly hard hit by the impact of eastern Germania, while the streets and underpasses in Florence remain submerged by floods. In addition, heavy snowfall was recorded at the Alpine regions, specifically along the Brennero Highway, and Italian authorities are urging residents to keep informed about weather and road conditions, warning of dangerous travel conditions. Let's take our last break, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, where you'll be able to watch on interviews, top stories, special broadcasts, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. We'll follow a short break, don't go away. Welcome back. In Haiti, armed gangs perpetrated a new massacre in the commune of Kincaps, east of the capital, killing at least 20 people. According to authorities, the Haitian National Police engaged in a confrontation against criminals, resulting in the death of some 20 gang members. Based on testimonies gathered at the scene, the criminal groups had announced the attack on the commune through social networks days before it happened. The affected families state that some people were killed while working in the fields, while others died inside their homes as a result of firearms or fire set by the terrorist groups. A plane of Colombia's Air Force landed on Wednesday in the country with 150 Colombian citizens deported from the United States, constituting the third flight of its kind that lands in the South American nation. The passengers, including several children who returned to the country with their families, they now face a difficult situation after their expulsion from the U.S. territory. The flight is part of the repatriation process coordinated between the Colombian Authority and the U.S. government within the new migratory measures implemented. Meanwhile, the Colombian government indicated that it will provide support to the returnees in their reintegration process, and it has also provided basic assistance and guidance to ensure that those affected can adapt in the best way possible. The Mexican government dismissed the U.S. administration's threat to impose an increase in the export tariff. During her daily morning conference, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum assured that she has already prepared a plan to deal with the increase in tariffs proposed by the government of the United States. She also affirmed that these planes will only be revealed if Trump fulfills his threats. However, she retreated that her government's position is to maintain positive bilateral relations with Washington. The statement came after the White House confirmed that from February the 1st, an increase in export tariffs will come into force from Mexico and Canada, both trade partners of the U.S.
No creemos que vaya a ocurrir, la verdad. Y si ocurre, también tenemos nuestro plan. Ya lo informaré.
We don't think it will happen, and if it does, we also have our plan. We will inform you. We will do it in due course, but we don't think it will happen. As I said, there are talks, there is dialogue, so we don't think this definition of tariffs is going to happen, but we are also prepared.
Esta definición de lo
The Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum assured that the national economy has improved considerably and that everything is ready to welcome the migrants supported by U.S. President Donald Trump.
La economía de México está muy fuerte. Las reservas del Banco de México.
Mexico's economy is very strong. The reserves of the Bank of Mexico are at record high. We have already dealt with the issue of inflation. Employment is doing well, so there is a lot of strength. And yesterday I was also very happy. Let's see if we invite them to the morning conferences or we can hold an event, this vocation. A union of many Mexican businesswomen and businessmen who said that this is for our fellow countrymen and women. 50,000 jobs are ready for our migrant brothers and sisters, if they come to Mexico, whether for deportation or for voluntary reasons, because they decide to do so, they will always be welcome here.
In Cuba, the 6th International Conference on World Balance, under the name With All and for the Good of All, is being held in Havana. The conference brings together 900 delegates from 93 countries and 400 Cubans and is a world meeting of plural and multidisciplinary ideas held every 2 years by the UNESCO José Martí Project for International Solidarity. During the opening session on Tuesday, the coordinator of the event's organizing committees stressed the urgency to build a better future as dreamed by Cuba's national hero, José Martí. He pointed out that Cuba does not organize in this conference to gain credits, but thinking about the human rights, which is subject to an international conflicts and armed risk, climate change, and social injustice across the world. The conference will close on Friday, January the 31st. During the event, Spanish-French journalist, writer, and political analyst Ignacio Ramonet highlighted the admiration that historical leader Fidel Castro felt from the intellectual honesty of the Cuban hero José Martí.
Yo voy a insistir solo sobre un aspecto que es el carácter.
I am going to insist only on one aspect, which is the deep admiration that Fidel felt for what we could call Martí's intellectual honesty, his profound honesty in this character of Martí.
Su honestidad profunda y este carácter de Martí, en todo caso,
seen by Fidel as a man of virtues. In particular, Fidel used to tell me, for example, when we were working on his book 100 Hours with Fidel.
Tenía la costumbre de decir, me decía, por ejemplo, cuando estábamos trabajando sobre 100 horas con Fidel, decía, tú puedes.
He used to say, you can ask me whatever you want. I will never tell you a lie. I will never tell you a lie. Even the book ends by him telling us.
Te diré una mentira. Y además, el libro 100 horas con Fidel se termina en el que él dice,
you can come back and see us whenever you want. The doors of this country will always be open, and we will never lie to you.
Este país estarán abiertas y nunca te...
And now changing topics. Moscow launched on Wednesday a special metro train decorated with the traditional Chinese symbols to mark the Lunar New Year. The train's features intricate skates designed of the Golden Dragon and other iconic Chinese images, and it will run for about a month to offer the commuters and tourists a unique cultural experience as it traverses the Russian capital. According to the Chinese ambassador to Russia, the train is a symbolic gesture to strengthen cultural and diplomatic ties with China. The train will connect the eastern and western parts of Moscow and is expected to be seen by around 250,000 locals and visitors over the going month. In Venezuela, a tribute was paid to Piedad Córdoba, who dedicated her life to defend human rights and peace in Colombia and Latin America. During the ceremony, participants and authorities highlight her role as Senator of Colombia, since she dedicated her life to promote projects in favor of social equality and against discrimination. They also recall her struggle in defense of the Union of America and the fight against the colonial interests that seeks to plunder the natural resources of the countries of Latin America and the Caribbean. It should be noted that this event took place within the framework of the exhibition Canto para Piedad, which will be open to the public until January 31st at the Romulo Gallegos Center for Latin American Studies in the city of Caracas. And with that, sir, we have come to the end of this brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, on X, and on Instagram as well. For Telesur English and from the South, I'm Marrero. Thank you for watching.